Hello, good evening. We are finally back after a 4-week break. It is the Club Racing UK podcast in association with Silver Lake Automotive Recycling. I'm your host, Robert Lewis, with Nick Holmes and Stefan Marsh. And this evening, it's all about the Funcup. So it's my privilege to welcome. We've got 3 guests at the moment. We may have a 4th one join later. We have possibly got Andy McEwen waiting in the wings. He has got sim commentary duties elsewhere. But for the moment, we're joined by 3 wonderful guests. Now, our first guest is someone that's been, in his own words, waiting 2 years to get himself on this podcast and talk about all things Funcup. It's Jamie Peters-Ellis. Good evening, Jamie.
Hi, guys. You all right?
Yeah, not too bad. Good to have you on. Our next
finally.
guest is... finally. It's good to have you on. Our next guest is Fabio Randazzio of the UVO Hoffman's Lotus team. Good evening, Fabio.
Hi there, good to be on.
Now, I'm told by Jamie we can call you Mr. Fabulous if possible. It's completely up to you.
Whatever you like.
I don't say that.
We'll stick with Fabio. And finally, last but certainly not least, we have Matt Dawkins, who drives for the Vape Club, although their car is run by EDF Motorsports. Good evening, Matt.
Good evening, guys.
Now, are you going to perform a set for us tonight, looking at the gear that's behind you?
Yeah, got everything lined up. We're ready to rock.
This is cool. Got like a rock legend on this evening as well. How cool is this?
That is very cool. So obviously a lot's changed in the 4 weeks since we've been on, but most importantly, there's lots of racing been going on as well. A lot of good commemorations throughout any racing community, sort of commemorating the passing of Her Majesty the Queen, and we look forward to an era of a new king. So let's move forwards and commence the news roundup.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to make Nick jealous here because Stefan drove an EP3 for the first time at Donington Park. You raced an EP3 at Donington Park, didn't you, Steph?
Yes, I did.
How was it?
Oh, awesome. It was very good, yeah. Highly rated EP3. Wow, to a point.
So, what's your thoughts?
Well, obviously driving the Mini around for a couple of years and it breaking constantly and everyone going, oh, just get a Honda.
So you drove that Honda, to be precise.
So I drove that Honda, which was faultless the whole time, so I can't complain about that one. But as soon as we finished the race, I got out and congratulated the winner, and then a few other people that I knew in the paddock that all have Hondas. So, how'd it go? And most of them had lost third or fourth gear, so the gearboxes are not very strong in them. And I think we was one of the only ones that actually made it without blowing up the gearbox. So happy days.
I suppose there's one silver lining. The only other difference, which I actually thought about the other day, Justin's car has a plated diff in it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So have you now finally found the difference between a helical diff, which you had before, and a plated diff?
Yeah, it's a massive difference and a completely different way of driving, but
Pretty much.
It's huge. But yeah, I can't thank Justin and Team Car enough for letting us have a bash in it. And we did pretty well, so yeah, happy with it. It was good. Crazy car.
How did you get on?
Yeah, it did well. I think in qualifying, I went out first. Obviously, never ever driven the car before, driven the Honda before, or driven around the GP circuit at Donington. So went out and I can't remember the time, but it was pretty good time, to be fair, for my first time. And then Justin went out and I think beat me by maybe a second. I can't quite remember. I think it was about a second, and got us into fifth place to start the race. Justin started the race. Epic start from fifth to second by the first corner. And then the guy in first had a couple of electrical gremlins on the way around, so then went in the first place. But he managed to get his car going again pretty quickly. So Justin and him were jostling for first for the first stint. We decided to pit pretty much on halfway. I jumped in and then got one lap round and the safety car came out. So then we thought we'd proper ruined our chances. But fortunately, after the safety car went in and we'd done a lap, it turned out that I'd gone back out in second with a back marker between me and first. Managed to get past the back marker straight away. So it was in second, and then I think it was just over a second between me and first, and it stayed like that to the end of the race. But I was trying my hardest to try and catch up with him and try and get the first place, but I tried a bit too hard, picked up too many track limits and got 5 second penalty and ended up in fourth.
Ooh, those dreaded track limits.
I should have just stuck with the second, but I was trying too hard. We went with the 888R tyres, and they sort of started falling off towards the end. So
a 888R tyre fall apart. Never heard that.
I know,
right? They normally turn to chocolate after like 3 laps, I think, on a decent race pace. But no, fair play, Steph. You did really well on what was an absolutely packed grid, and you've now officially broken your Honda Cherry.
Yep.
So, any further plans?
Finish the race. Finish the race.
Yeah, planning. Luckily, I think I managed to do well enough that Justin was happy enough to invite me back for another go. So we're hoping to get another round in at the end, towards the end of the year. Hoping possibly Club Sport Trophy on the 16th of October at Silverstone International, or maybe TDT at Brands at the end of the year. But we'll see what happens. See what we can fit in.
Fingers crossed. I did know as well. Obviously, I was listening to your race on the way home on TSL timing because it wasn't on the live stream. But we did have a little giggle when you were listed as Stefan March instead of Marsh. But little details.
No idea what happened there, but Stefan March for the day. It did make me chuckle.
The other thing I noted as well, obviously you were there with Justin. Did he say anything about the TDC race the day before? Because by all accounts, it was chaos.
Well, he didn't play much of a part of that. So he went out.
Get that one in there quick.
Yeah. Well, was throwing him under the bus a little bit, but he went out in qualifying. I think he qualified fourth, and then had a mega start. He showed me his start, and he was first, straight into the first corner, pulling away. But the problem was on his green flag lap.
Get it out.
He left the handbrake on.
Oh,
So cooked his rear brakes, and then 2 or 3 laps in, had no brake pedal whatsoever. So pulled into the pits and had to retire the car because the rear brakes were like the white charcoal in a barbecue.
ouch.
So then, he's out of the race. So I'm not sure he really knew what happened because he pulled it off, and that was it.
Absolutely. So now you've tasted the EP3. Hopefully, you'll never go back. Are there any Nick? Have you had an invitation to have a go in the EP3 yet?
Well, not to sound jealous or envious at all, but that was actually my fucking invite. Unfortunately, the day job got in the way, and I had to earn money. So, me being a wonderful friend that I am, I said to Justin, I was like, "Oi, get Stef in the car," and so off he went. So I'm not jealous at all. I was ever so close to popping my EP3 cherry, but alas, I must wait.
Yeah, he said he'd still get you in there. So
I must get hold of Justin to send him some more stickers. Actually, anyway,
it'll be one of those things, wouldn't it? It'll be like when not to meet your heroes, and it just never happened. There'll always be a circumstance or something in the way that will stop me from experiencing an EP3.
Yeah.
There we go. Right,
I must say, the GP circuit. I'm not a fan of the GP circuit.
Are you not?
How are you not a fan of the Donington GP loop?
I think it just ruins the flow, and the 2 hairpins are just meh. They're just slow and meh. They ruin it.
Jamie's shaking his head. Do you disagree, Jamie?
No, I do you know what? When we did the Funcup race on Saturday, because it was the first time we'd been on it, Fab, I think, was it? He's muted himself. He needs to unmute himself. There we go.
Sorry,
I think it's the first time, Fab, we've been in it. We've done the GP for like 10 years or something. I think it was when the World Cup, because Funcup did actually do a World Cup, believe it or not. And I thought, oh no, like the grid's going to get really spread out. 4 hours, no one's going to enjoy it. It was probably by far the best race of the year, especially if you guys have had a chance to watch the last 15 minutes. It went mental. I think we all needed to lie down after that one. Unfortunately,
Look how Matt's chuckling away in the corner there.
Well, he had a fairly quiet stint, but I think poor Fab and Fart's last 15 minutes. I think you two were on the verge of nervous breakdown, weren't you?
Oh, it was really good. It was really good. I was enjoying because we haven't had such a finish like that for probably, I don't know. I don't think we've had such a close finish for the last 2 years. So it's a little bit long overdue, I think. It didn't go our way, but we were. I was in the tent having a beer and enjoying the camaraderie of everyone cheering it along, and actually standing next to Christian. So we were both. Christian Rose was in the other car that collected us on the way out. So we had a good giggle and a smile, and just enjoyed those last few laps, which were brilliant.
Outstanding.
Good.
So I think Stef might be the only person then that's not a fan of the GP circuit. Although to be fair, we'll just look at a couple of comments. So James Alford, I completely agree with Stefan. 2 negative camber hairpins completely ruins the flow.
Can I just point out?
It's interesting. It's not a good track, is it? To drive, it's not an exciting track, but there's a couple of overtaking opportunities, and what I find quite interesting. I found this less when I've driven fast cars around there, but when you drive a slow car around there, like a Funcup car, the amount of time you can win or lose around those 2 hairpins is incredible. So it does throw up some interesting things when you're in a race, because you can get somebody that's maybe pulling a gap. They just have to make a small error and suddenly they've dumped a second around there. So it is, it's not an exciting bit of track to drive, but it does add something to a race, I think, maybe.
Yeah, it's really difficult to carry speed through those 2 hairpins. So any tiny mistake on the exit, and you really pay for it. It really surprised me because that's the first time I've ever raced on that layout, obviously. It really surprised me just how fast you enter that chicane that way round. I thought it was going to be slower looking at it on a map, but it's a lot quicker than the other one, I think. I could be wrong.
You do, and I think it's a bit of a dice roll when you send it into there every time, because like the quick way is to trailer brake into there. And if you trailer brake in and you get it slightly wrong, you could miss an apex by a foot. And if you miss the apex by a foot, you're in the tyre wall. So it's quite interesting, because if you want to get that really quick lap time, you have got to have a bit of a twitchy bum moment as you send it through that chicane. And again, it's not. It's not an interesting course. It's not like you're going up through Eau Rouge, but it's technical, and it kind of, in a strange way, it can add something to your lap.
Okay, that's fair enough. Right, just carrying on with the news. So I've got quite a bit of news down here. Now, I know I'm going to talk about the Toka package, but there is a point to this. So Ginetta threw a spanner in the works by basically saying last week, right, we're off.
That was huge.
In a move that not a lot of people saw coming. Now, the first thing I thought of, and a lot of people mentioned it, obviously the first thing that they said, what's going to replace Ginetta on the Toka package? That's question number one. The other thing that maybe hasn't been thought about as much, with them joining the British GT, as you know, it's quite sensible. It provides a step up for GT racing from the juniors up to the senior level. Mm-hmm. But British GT, as we've found out this year, they've had modified Fords there, CSCC there, at these high-profile meetings. Has that then closed the door for a lot of club series to get onto a high-profile meeting as such? What's your thoughts, guys?
Yes, wholeheartedly, I reckon.
And who's going to replace Ginetta?
Be all the minis.
I don't think it will.
No.
No. I genuinely think it'd be just a restructure, because what you got Ginetta Juniors, the Ginetta G55s now, and GT5 and all of that. That's in
going.
there.
They're restructuring that bit and
that's what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I thought of, I don't know if you mentioned it, Jamie, but Caterham. So they've just left the BRSCC. It's factory backed, albeit at the club level. But would they fill the void?
The thing is, I mean, the Ginetta package, I mean, the races have always been good, and it's basically nearly 6 races across a weekend to fill. So realistically, if Caterham are going to do it, I mean, what they got now, because all their numbers have changed, haven't they? With, I think the 420s are now called the UK cars, and you got 310s and 270s, and you got the Academy as well. I mean, personally, I would like to see the Mini Melias and Mini 7s in.
Yeah.
Because guaranteed to have a really good race.
Yeah.
Or even, or maybe put them in as a guest, like they've done before, and maybe bring in a historic stuff. Probably something like what Fab has tested, that TVR thingy that you tested at SNET. I mean, what was that? 500 horsepower and less than 1,000 kilos. Something. What the hell is that in the background? Has somebody come over for dinner by any chance?
He's weaving some sort of web.
We ruined fancy dress note.
Spider-Man has joined the show.
I think that's Spider-Woman.
Oh yeah, hold on a second.
Oh no.
That's amazing.
I think I know who that is.
That's amazing.
It could be it's not Mr. Burrows because it's too tall.
Right.
I think that's I think that's Mr. Diot.
Is there going to be a grand unveiling? I know who this masked person is.
I'm not sure the person who it is will be that pleased that you thought maybe it was Mr. Diot.
Oh, okay.
No.
Has my bar bill at the party just gone up? Was it Mr. Pitch? No.
Should we keep on getting? Tell you what, if you can, get yourself in the comments and let's just find out who it is.
Who could it be?
Who could it be? Get in the comments and just let us know. Who's
the imposter in our show this evening? We should just say for all our audio listeners, Spider-Man has just rocked up. Spider-Woman, maybe. Spider-Person.
Going back to the GP league very quickly, I don't know why James Orford's complaining because he won on Sunday. Again.
Oh yeah, but he complains even when he does win.
Yeah, true.
That's a good point.
That bloke is never happy.
No.
That's a good point. Right, just
That's thrown me completely.
It's thrown us completely off track. Let's get back to some of the comments. Carl Barton, Fiesta Junior was mentioned in comment. Now, Alan Gow did say he wants a junior series in there. So let's be honest. So Ginetta's gone. So what's left? JSCC, which is the Saxo. It's a Bark series, so that could slot in there, although the cars are a bit older. Fiesta Junior, as Carl said, Fiesta Junior currently on the BRSCC. That's a viable package. A new car coming in, which Josh Cook has got a bit of involvement with.
Yeah.
There's lots out there. Chris Pratt gives a mention. GB3 to give the F4 guys a step up. No, because the problem is GB3 is sort of the rival to the Formula, isn't it? So that'll be like TCR being on the touring car package. Lots were saying TCR should be on there, and it won't. Alan Gow won't happen. But you made the point there about that. So a few years ago, we were lucky enough. The Toka package went to Knockhill and everyone saw the home heroes, but also they had the Scottish Championships there. So is there any potential? I know there's a big commercial thing here, and that means the fees will go up and stuff like that. But could there be a potentially different club series represented at every round in the UK next year? Potentially.
No,
I don't know. I know what you mean, Nick. It's good to be for
you were around the Toka package enough, Rob, with Graves to know that there comes a huge Toka tax.
Yes,
it would cripple any club. Any club.
It would also harm whoever goes there.
Well, exactly. That's,
Well, if the Fiesta Juniors went there, they're pretty expensive as they are. If they went there as well and added the Toka tax on top, that's going to be very expensive. And then you're looking at the elite juniors.
Anyway now. Anyone on that package is elite.
Yeah.
But then it needs to be something.
It needs to be something that appeals to the fans at the track and the telly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we say there is a Toka tax. There is a reason there's a Toka tax because it's on terrestrial telly. It's got something there that not a lot of other people can offer.
Yeah, exactly that.
Fiesta Juniors in there, it would ruin the minis.
I don't think it would because the minis have
because it's exactly the same thing, isn't it? There's just different cars.
To a point. Although the mini challenges got manufacturer backing to some point, so it would the Caterhams make sense because Caterham are there as a manufacturer in the background, sort of backing the series. But who knows?
They've also got the varying types to back it up, haven't they? Really, but
effectively. So if they maybe want to create,
you never know. We might just get more British touring car races.
I don't think that'll happen. I don't think that. I mean, three races is enough, unless they change it back to the sprint and feature race format they had in the 90s. But
tell you what, boys, why don't we go on?
Why not?
4 hours on Saturday.
Not, you mean?
Busy.
I'd rather not. When you're on a billing like that, you always end up with the rump end of the day, don't you? You'll turn up on a Thursday and you'll race at 5 o'clock on a Sunday for 20 minutes.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, and every so often that might be an okay thing to do if you want to see yourself on telly or whatever. But the novelty soon wears off, and actually, what you want to do is go racing on a weekend, not sort of fan yourself out in front of the very limited crowd.
No, fair point.
No,
but, I mean, that series we've chatted about, I think the Cats have probably. They make brilliant entertainment, don't they, every single time? And if there's anywhere in UK motorsport that creates a ladder for people, which is essentially what we want to create, is the Cats. So they probably deserve a chance. And I'd say the drivers that get in at academy level, it probably gives them a shot of actually getting in a seat in a touring car. So if I had a vote, I'd vote on them.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And to be honest, I know it's kind of a bit left field where you've got the slicks. Just as from my point of view, I mean, I love Formula Ford, and Caterham is sort of, to me, to the sports car world, is the what Formula Ford is to single seaters, in the fact that there's no aero, it's all mechanical grip, so you really learn to tune your car, limited power, so it kind of.
Hold on. There's no aero on a Caterham.
Not a lot.
The most aerodynamic car going. It's a brick.
Well, it's not even that. Plus, let's be honest. If you run a Caterham team and you want to go on terrestrial TV, you've got the biggest platform there to approach a scaffolding company and advertise your product. Because
yeah, very good.
That's very good. I thought
every
about that
team sponsored by scaffolding.
Every team sponsored by scaffolding. The other bit of news,
just quickly, can you imagine the price of what the wings would go up to? Wings and rear light clusters.
It's a good point. I mean, to be fair, so when they were at Donington, when I was there with the C1s, I spoke to Mark Werrell, and we walked down the bottom of the pit lane, and there was this big pile of Caterham bits. And we actually stood there and sort of pointed at all the different bits and worked out we could probably put together a very battered looking Caterham with all the bits that they just pulled off the track and thrown at the entrance to the pit lane. And it was literally rear and front mud guards, bonnets, nose cones, bits of panels and everything. So, you know, if they do go on the token package, that guy that sells the battered body parts, he'll make a few quid out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, moving on, because we're nearly half an hour into the show and we need to get to the main topic yet. Just a quick shout out. The Track Attack Race Club has been bought by Dave Beecroft. So Steve Vince that run Track Attack Race Club back in the days when it was the Hyundai Coupe Cup, Nippon Challenge. He's retired after 18 years. He's decided to retire, bless him. And he sold Track Attack Race Club to Dave Beecroft, who's promptly taken the decision to move the series over to the BARC. So that's going to be what's happening from next year. They're going to be run alongside the JSCC. Nice. Our man Dan Thackeray. Now, you'll probably be able to provide a bit of insight on this, Steph. At the Civic Cup, our ambassador Dan Thackeray at Brands Hatch recently. Dan got a first and a third, bless him. And
yes, lad.
He is in the title sight. So he is fourth in the series after drop scores. He's within 20 points of Alistair Camp in first. It might be a bit smaller than that. I could have done my sums wrong. But mathematically, he's one of 4 drivers that goes into the finale with a realistic chance of winning the Civic Cup. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not going to mention...
He still owes us the shoey.
He still owes us a shoey. I've been looking at the comments as well. Nick Prawn. Now, Nick... He says, awesome to have Jamie Peters-Ennis as a guest. Good to have you on as well, Nick.
I didn't egg him to say that, by the way.
No, that's fine.
You sure? You owe him a $5 now.
Yeah. We're actually due to have the Classic Touring Car Racing Club on in our next episode. So we were going to talk about a lot about Nick's season so far on there next weekend. But unfortunately, it's Snet. He hit some engine troubles on the live stream. We're heartbroken for him. And I don't want to mention it too much because if I was in his position, I would be absolutely gutted. So we're rooting for you. Well, I've heard on the grapevine you've got yourself potentially another engine and you can make it to the finale. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, come on, buddy. You can go. You can do it.
For you guys. Another couple of quite heartwarming things that I thought were quite good to round off the news section. The Metro Cup celebrated its 30th anniversary recently at Snetterton. Look at that lot.
That's cool.
Retro cool. I like a good retro car. It's one of the original great one-make series. And they had quite a good grid out of Snet, actually. 22 Metros, considering you probably struggle to find bits for them nowadays. Fair play to you guys.
Race series. Yeah.
It is a proper good race series. And a big shout out to Chris Pratt because the Vision Motorsport Engineering, they've won the Clubman's CSP1 class. Now, the Clubman's, of course, you would have seen in the last episode of the Club Racing UK podcast. So congratulations to the guys down at Vision Motorsport Engineering. Our man, Chris Pratt of All Square Racing.
Well done, Chris.
Well done, Chris. Well done to you guys. So before I...
You owe us a shoey, Chris.
You do owe us a shoey, Chris.
yeah, actually, come on, Chris. Get on it.
You owe us a shoey. So yes, I was going to mention calendars actually in the next. So the calendars are slowly starting to come out for 2023. I think we'll leave that for a few shows time. I know the classic. Funnily enough, we talk about them on the next podcast. The Classic Touring Car Racing Club have released theirs, so we'll talk about that when we get them on the show next.
Yes, we will.
Right. Before we move on to the main subject this evening, I just want to talk about Marketing Delivery. They have built a digital marketing platform, which is VoiceBox, that they use with their automotive clients, which is about 390 dealerships UK-wide. What it does is it sends emails, SMS text messages, and schedules their social media content to their customers based on their data and their target audience. They will use this platform as an opportunity to sell software as a service, and Marketing Delivery want to put that to the wider automotive industry and the racing community as part of that. As we know, especially when it comes to finding sponsors nowadays, they can use something like Marketing Delivery's VoiceBox to use with their various sponsors and clients. So people like the proactive drivers and teams that need the tool to manage their social media activity or their email marketing. I know the ambassadors are going to start using it as well. And we've also seen other teams, the G&M Motors team in TDC, they've started using it as well. They've also had Ashmore has been using VoiceBox with his Type R trophy car. I know he's sort of involved with the classic car and bike rental business. So, yes, if you are interested, get on to Jeremy Evans and the team at Marketing Delivery. Right. Thank you for waiting patiently, guests. Sorry about that. And we hope Spider-Man, woman, person is still listening in the background. But so Jamie has been patiently waiting for about 2 years to tell us all about Funcup. Now, we have said, or very tongue-in-cheek, that we thought Funcup was rather expensive. It certainly looks it from the outset. However, it's actually far from it. I have been doing my research, but to tell us more about this wonderful series, we've got 3 and maybe 4 fabulous guests on tonight. So I'm going to just go around the room. I'm going to start with Matt, actually. Matt, how did you first get involved with Funcup?
I was actually looking to buy a go-kart because me and my good friend Vlad, who's also my boss, were sim racing. We're playing Gran Turismo. Looking at getting a second-hand go-kart so we could go thrash it around the industrial estate after work. And then I came into work one day and he said, you better get a driving license because I've just bought this. Then he showed me a picture of a Volkswagen Beetle with a big wing on the back.
Love it.
That was my introduction to Funcup.
I love that. Yeah,
Okay.
A go-kart for a laugh, full-blown race car.
I didn't even have a driving license at the time. So
wow.
I like that. So Fabio, we've kind of got a taste that you have driven some mental machinery. I mean, testing a TVR is not for the faint-hearted. So what got you into Funcup?
Yeah, I've raced loads of different stuff over the years, and I started Funcup. My teammate Farkini, he's been racing it longer than me, and he probably started trying to persuade me of the virtues of Funcup about a decade ago. And then I think Jamie will probably remember better than me. Was it 2012 I did my first race?
Yeah, I think it was about 2012, 2013. Did the first one. Yeah.
I did a one-off race when they were diesel powered, and it was me, Farkini, and Ben Pitch, who races in the championship now as well. We did a one-off race, and we actually won our first race, which is pretty unusual in a Funcup race. And then I didn't carry on. There were diesels at the time, and I didn't really like driving them. The racing was brilliant still, but the cars just weren't great to drive. And then they all went petrol sequential. And the opportunity came up to share a car, just me and Farkini. The previous guy, Graham Roberts, he was racing with, had gone off to do other things. So he phoned me up and he said, do you want to come on board? We've just won the championship a couple of times. If you get it wrong, it's all your fault. But do you want to give it a go? And we didn't win the championship. So yeah,
no pressure.
And that was, I think I've done it. I think it's my 5th full year on the bounce now, and I've loved every minute of it.
So this particular team would be Team Uvio, who have been quite successful in this series. So they were champions in. This is just going from the Funcup marketing 2016, 2017, 2019, and 2021, and last year, as you know, is it last year? Yeah, 2021. Yeah, I'm going ahead of myself. So certainly quite a successful team to sort of jump on board with. How's this year gone for you guys?
This year's been good and bad. I mean, we've won 4 races, which if you pick any year of Funcup, winning 4 races is unreal. It's very rare that you get much more than a couple of wins in a year. So from that respect, it's been great. But sadly, the races that we haven't won, we've generally had some sort of disaster, like some component failure. Or in the last one, we had a bit of a bump. So we've lost the championship this year, but the racing's been as good as ever. And we had such a good run. Last year was immaculate. So I think we deserved a bit of bad luck, frankly, especially with our karma. So yeah.
No comment.
But it's been good from our perspective behind the wheel. We've done what we can do. We've driven fast and we haven't crashed that much. So it's been all right.
Do you want to tell them how many you won last year?
6 last year.
Out of?
What was it?
7.
Is it 7? No, it's not 7, is it? No,
it was 8 or 9, wasn't it?
8.
Yeah, 8.
Yeah, it's
we
21.
won 4, so yeah.
And that would have been quite a shortened season as well, because at that point we would have been coming out of COVID, wouldn't we?
Yeah, no, we had a full year last year. But the thing with Funcup, like we're doing minimum of a 3-hour race, And I think last year, the only 3-hour race we did was on the bounce with another 3-hour race in the same day. So you're doing 4 hours, 6 hours, maybe 8 or 12-hour races. So to win that many on the trot, when you look at the cumulative time scale to do that without a failure, without dropping it, without crashing, that's quite a tough gig, especially when it's so competitive.
Okay. And Jamie.
Top effort then.
Yeah. Very top effort. Jamie, how did you get involved with Funcup?
So my journey started back in 2012. I got asked by Chris Hartley, good friend of the championship, who's been heavily involved in it since pretty much day one. We were at Alton Park. I used to sort of help him out in the commentary box, and he said to me, "Oh, I'm racing at Donington tomorrow. They need a pit reporter. Do you want to come and do it?" And I was like, "Okay, what's on?" He went, "Oh, the Funcup." I was like, "The what?" Because I'd never heard of it. And he said, "Oh, it's a 4-hour race." And I thought, "Oh, right, okay. Am I going to like this?" And I was hooked. The racing was brilliant. I then, 2013, went off to do another championship. And then 2014, Funcup did a 1,000-kilometer race at Donington, which was actually called Funcup and Friends. So it was Funcup versus the Mazdas. So six Mazdas came. They ran as a 2-3 relay teams because they're power-wise they're roughly the same. In a straight line, they're not too dissimilar. And that's when my journey started, and I've done pretty much every year since. I didn't do 18 because I had other stuff going on. So, but yeah, I've done 56 events now, including when Funcup went on holiday. We went to Portimao in December.
Yeah,
we had 22 cars go over there, and we've done races at Zandvoort. I did the 2019 event. I think we would like to go back, but obviously with all the travel chaos at the moment.
I was going to say, and the ramifications looking at going and racing in Europe now from the UK have sort of made it a bit more expensive as well.
Yeah, and obviously you got to think logistically. I mean, Portimao was hard because people like EDF and other teams that have huge transporters, they were sort of selling spaces in their truck, and there were a couple of car transporters that went down there. So I mean, to get 22, 23 cars down to the south of Portugal in December was a really good effort, and the races were really good. I mean, going down the straight into turn 1 5 abreast, and and we did a night race. We did a 4-hour day race, had some dinner, and then did a 4-hour night race, and then all went back to the hotel and then had some more food and drink.
Sounds like a perfect race weekend. That does.
That was really good.
I bet that was mostly drink that was consumed as well in the evening.
No comment.
To be fair, I have heard of the famous Funcup hospitality area.
It's very well restrained, isn't it, boys?
I love how there was like a deathly silence there because you were all like,
it's not unusual for us to be there at like 2-3 in the morning.
I think this is
after a race weekend. Is
it the ghosts of Hangover Past?
I was going to say what happens in the Funcup tent stays in the Funcup tent.
Like it.
I like that.
We have to be nice. We have to be behaved because our race director's watching.
Is he?
Julian's watching, boys.
Hi, Julian.
Hi, Jules.
Good evening. Thank you, guys. Whoever is watching us for the first time tonight to talk all things of Funcup as well. I just want to go back because the comments have lit up and I've neglected them somewhat. Now, Nick Prawnvaughan, he's just got off a plane. What the F have I just tuned into? I think that was the point when Spider-Man came in. So don't worry about it, Nick. Do not adjust your TV set there. Stuart Ramsey has mentioned maybe a Funcup sprint on the Toka package. Maybe. Benjamin Griffiths asks, do Matt and Rob have the same barber? Good show, boys. I think he's referring to, I've got it in a ponytail tonight, but, I think the answer there is, Ben, we don't have a barber because that would involve actually cutting hair.
We do, but they died.
Yeah. Something. Mine's been like it since COVID. I'm not going back, to be honest. I think I feel it better. Jonathan Bevan. I was going to come to this because the Funcup does have one of the most famous endurance races in the world. Evening all, I was lucky enough to win the Auto Express Drive in 2003 in Funcup. It ended with me driving the Spa 24-hour race. I'm going to query that bit in a second. Fantastic experience driving in the middle of the night around Spa, even got a trophy. Now, it's not actually a 24-hour race, isn't it? It's an extra hour. So it's actually the longest
25.
race. Yeah, so it's the longest race distance in the world, is it not?
Yeah.
So there we go. Funcup has that elaborate honour.
Why did they choose 25? Was 24 not enough?
They just wanted to beat everybody else. That's all it is. That's all that is. That is someone's in a pub having a pint and gone, do you know what a 24-hour race needs? 25 hours.
Fab's done it.
It's one louder.
I think it was just a marketing ploy. I think the extra hour, but I will say, I've done that race twice, and is the best race event I've ever done in my life. It is so good. You got 145 identical cars lining up on the grid together, and Spa's a pretty big track. You know, if you've been to Spa, you know that it can get processional and strung out. But you don't have that for a moment. You know, you're battling away, and because the cars are so robust, it's not like you're careful on the car. You're fighting every minute of the race. So you know, every driver and every stint gets such value out of doing that race. It really is best race I think you can do. Should be on everyone's bucket list.
And if you're really daft enough, you can actually have a passenger ride in the middle of the race.
What?
Yeah, they
do a 2-driver car, so you can take passengers out.
They tried to get me to do it, and I refused.
That's amazing.
They're called.
I'm doing that.
So
Jonathan, the best thing is when you look over and see the Italian cars in the middle of a race with passengers.
Yeah,
sign me up. Get me in a passenger seat. I'm coming. Come on. Let's do this.
Could you imagine though if you signed someone up that was a nervous passenger and you take them to Spa? So let's say, I don't know, stint middle of the night, and you've got to drive for however long the stint lasts, and all you've got is a passenger next to you going, just around the whole circuit for 2 hours. That's astounding. Or even better, like, are there any?
I think I'd be annoying. I'd just be sitting there giggling.
Well, yeah, I mean, has any racer actually taken their missus out or anything?
I'm sure it's happened. I think the first year I was there, there was a team there that literally had a queue of people coming out of their pit lane, just doing passenger rides and passenger rides and passenger rides. It's so cool.
That's bonkers. Wow. I love that.
Brilliant.
We're doing that, boys. Come on, let's get ourselves. Yeah. We're going to have to go over and do that. I'm sorry.
Was it just like the part of the team passenger ride for the stint, or was it just like an experience cut the laps or something?
You can like buy tickets.
You can do it how you want it, I think, and I don't think there's a restriction on how many drivers you can have in that race either. So if you do want to just mix it up, have loads of drivers, loads of passengers, you can absolutely do that.
Because they have over in Europe. Over in Europe, they use the majority of them now use what they call the Evo 3 car, which is the 2-litre car on. I think they're on road tyres, Fab, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. So the bi-cars, as they're called, because they're twin-seaters, they have one 2-litre, one diesel, and one Evo 1, which is the spec we use in the UK. So whoever is crazy enough to pay, don't know, the 60, 100 euros or whatever it is to be a passenger, they can experience how each type of Funcup car handles, because the diesels in the 2-litre cars are heavier, but they're only marginally quicker in a straight line, because the 1.8 cars, I think they're about 100 kilos lighter. So you're basically taking me out of the passenger seat. We ran one at Thruxton. I think Enduro brought a 2-litre car just on test day, and the 1.8 car was slightly quicker because of the GT tyres, because they're so grippy. And yeah, they tried to get me to do the passenger ride in 2016, and I point blankly said no.
Why not?
No. I'm terrified enough. I'm going to be driving one at the end of the year, but no, not in a passenger. I've seen them drive.
Seriously, if anyone is watching or listening and needs a passenger, I'm a lanky one, but I am there. I am there. Sign me up to that.
There we go. That is outstanding. But I can't. So going with the whole petrol and diesel thing, I can't remember watching the championship a few years ago, and were the UK cars at that point where you had a diesel and a petrol class? What happened there?
So there was originally there's Evo 1 was diesel, so it was everywhere in UK, Europe was all diesel. And then, actually, no, I tell a lie. It was petrol first, wasn't it, Jamie?
Yeah.
Evo 1 was petrol, and then Evo 2 was diesel.
Yeah.
And then Evo 3 is like a 2-litre sequential. But in the UK, we came up with this thing called petrol sequential, which basically gets the original Evo 1 engine, but with a sequential gearbox. So that's where we've gone in the UK, which is slightly different to most of Europe's now Evo 3. Whereas we're still with the Evo 1 engine, but with a sequential. But it doesn't really make a lot of difference because all the cars are the same. So so long as you're all the same, it doesn't really make a lot of odds whether you're 20
that
or 30. That
does sound typically British, though, doesn't it? Everyone's going this way, we're going that way.
Yeah. But we're going to do our
So my question is, and obviously talking about the specs of the car, obviously give us a lowdown of like say Evo 1, Evo 3. What's actually under the body? Obviously, it looks like a Beetle. We know that. Is it full space frame? Are they fiberglass? Give us a.
So if you were to wander outside and do like a leisurely jog, then that's like an Evo 1 petrol sequential. If you were to just step it up a notch and burn a sweat, then you're into an Evo 3. It's something like that.
Okay.
So it's not a lot. But the cars themselves.
So every time you get into a Funcup car, you go down the pit straight and you think, oh, crap, the thing's broken. You're radioing in going, what's wrong with the engine? And then you get onto the track and you go, no, that's just how they are. And then what basically happens is you join the track and there's 5 other Funcup cars all going exactly the same speed. And then you're slipstreaming each other, and then you tip it into a corner, and they're brilliant because they're basically mid-engine. They're like a Formula Ford with a plastic Beetle body dropped on top.
Yeah.
So as soon as you get into it, you're like, actually, this thing's genius. And overtaking's never been so easy. Normally it's hard work, but forget about flappy wings down. You've got permanent boost every time you get behind one of them. So the racing is just first rate. So they're funny, they're quirky cars, and they're not fast by any stretch of the imagination, at least not down the straights. They're quick around the corners. But the genius of a Funcup car is just they're so blunt through the air that they draft brilliantly. So you watch, you watch one and you watch a race, and 4 hours in, there'll be 5-6 cars on the lead lap, dicing it out at the end of the race. And that's what the genius is about it.
I mean, the cars themselves. So effectively, obviously reading into it, so it's an 1800 VW carburetted engine.
Yeah.
About 130 horsepower.
Yeah.
I mean, to look at them and watch how they race, you would think they were a lot more than 130 brake.
That's the thing. I thought they, as you mentioned in the 2-litre sequentials and stuff like that, I thought it'd be a lot more powerful than that. So yeah, that's cool.
No, I mean,
they're not fast. They're not fast cars. But the corner speed is very high though, because they are basically proper single-seater race cars. So the corner speed, and that's where the lap time comes from, is just the corner speed. And the interesting about them when you're driving them is they're as Matt's learned and actually adapted to so really well over the last couple of years. If you make a little mistake mid-corner because you haven't got any power, it then kills you down the straight. So you've got to be really delicate driving a little Funcup car.
Yeah.
And it is a really good way to learn racecraft and learn about how to get a good lap time.
You have to be so disciplined in them. You really do. You can get the thing sideways around every single corner if you want, but you learn very quick. It's not the quickest way to do it.
It's not the fastest way.
It's the most fun way. But one of the things that surprised me, because last year was my first season of doing any sort of motorsport, when we would go on track days and test, just how much machinery we would get past.
Yeah.
On a track day. It was so funny. And then it became really funny just watching people with Porsches, McLarens, Ferraris come and find you in the garage and go, what's under there? And you go, 1.8 VW engine. And just 130 horses. They cannot wrap their heads around it.
No.
Because it might not be the fastest car in a straight line, but how
the corners.
How much of the lap would you be going over 100 miles an hour in most cars? I mean, I wouldn't know, but doesn't seem like an awful lot because everyone else is braking 150, 200 meters before a corner. Whereas if we do have to brake, it's 50 meters before usually.
But is that, I mean, Andrew Phillips is here. So they're only 768 kilos on cut slicks.
Oh, nice.
Not with us driving, Andrew.
It's about 4 tons with me in it. So we did a race at Thruxton in 2020 because that was the shortened year and we'd never been to Thruxton before, so we were going into the unknown, especially with the tyres, because as we all know, Thruxton is like the most abrasive circuit in the country. And at one point, I think Fab and Fark had cleared off in their 25 lap lead, and whatever they were doing. At one point, they were 5 abreast going into the chicane. One driver told me there was enough room for 6. It did a whole. Every car did the entire 4 hours on one set of tyres. They didn't change.
Wow.
And the tyres were fine, weren't they? So they that
was a great race, wasn't it, Thruxton?
It was,
we
it was
should
really
really
good
another
race.
Thruxton Funcup race. That was brilliant.
Yeah, it was a really good race, and I mean the tyres that we use, which are the GTR2 tyres, we use them in wet and dry, so we don't change during the race. So if it throws it down, you just hang on and enjoy yourself. As Matt knows, doing nice 360s down the Craners, and I mean they're great tyres, and when we changed from the previous supplier to these, it was an instant hit, and I believe GT carrying on for next year as well.
Nice.
That's good. So
do you guys have to run to any particular rules with your tyres? Do you get limited to how many tyres you're allowed, or is it just a free for all for that spec of tyre?
We're not allowed.
There's not a massive need if you stop for tyres in a Funcup race, even if it's a 12-hour Funcup race. To be honest, even if it's a 25-hour Funcup race, if you stop for tyres, you've lost so much time that you may as well not bother. So you're naturally limited to a set of tyres a race. So we do. I don't know what Matt. I imagine they do the same, but we just do a set of tyres a race, and then we use the last set of tyres for testing. It's a set of tyres a race, and they're very inexpensive tyres. So your tyre budget is not great. You always look at it like Funcup can look expensive when you say, right, it's X amount to do a whole weekend. But when you work out like pound per minute, or the way I look at it, which is pounds per fun, it's actually really good value. The tyre budget's not big. You know, how many race championships do you get? Because we probably do 8 hours on a set of tyres, something like that, realistically, when you add up all the testing. So it's not big in terms of tyre budget, and they're a few £100. They're not expensive rubber, and they work well, and they don't really drop off. You know, you look at the lap times at the start of a race and the end of the race, they don't change an awful lot. You're scratching around with tenths, so they're very stable, which is what you want in a one-make championship.
Yeah, you'll easily get a whole race and a test day out of them. Easily.
That's good.
So obviously for yourself, Matt, how have you? So you've had to adapt to this car. So have you found it's brought on your racecraft a lot quicker learning in this type of car?
Yeah, it's gone from naught to where I am now. The learning curve has been so steep, but what's made me fall in love with Funcup is it's been the absolute best place to learn because of exactly like Fab was saying, the pounds per fun and the bang for buck you get in terms of seat time. We can, over the course of a weekend, we can get as much seat time as other people might get in an entire season.
Yeah.
So it's been really, really good. And the first season, we joined this thing. It's called Funcup. It's these Beetles. We thought it was going to be a right laugh. It wasn't until we got on track we realized just how competitive it is and how serious about having fun it is. So you have to, you've really got to get your chops up quick if you want to compete. But it's been absolutely amazing because there's quite a few people in the paddock that are very experienced, have raced lots of other things. There's some people that have raced all 20 seasons of Funcup in the UK. And one of the things we found that was everyone, including Fabio and Fark, his teammate, have been super kind and come up to us and give us tips and have shared their data with us to try and help us get us up to speed. Because I guess it just makes it more fun, and they're hoping we're sticking around. I hope we're trying to make them all regret it, but not very successfully.
You'll get that. It's the great thing about one make series like this, though, isn't it? Like I say, when everybody's chipping in and everybody wants to see everybody racing, that's what true club level motorsport is about. So it's good the fact that
everything is completely even. We're all on the same tires. We've all got the same engine that's sealed. You can't do anything. We've all got identical machinery. It all comes down to driver skill, but it doesn't, because it's the endurance racing. It's fully a team sport, which is another aspect that I love. If you can't swap tires because you'd lose seconds and seconds and seconds, the really quick guys can get their pit stops and driver changes down to about 9 seconds. So you've got to work with your team to get that down as well, because if you lose 10 seconds on a driver change, there's no way you're getting that back on track. So being able to get more people involved than just the drivers is brilliant as well.
That's good.
The one thing I looked at in the regulations as well is these refueling windows. So how does that work out, Jamie?
So for a 4-hour race, the window's every 40 minutes for 10 minutes. So you have to we have like a pit open and pit close board. So before you can come in, you have to pass the board once, and then you can come in at any point within that 10-minute window. If you leave it right to the end and the close board goes out, you can pass it, but then you have to come in. Otherwise, you get I think it's a stop go or a 1 lap penalty. Fuel churns are around sort of 22 litres. Some teams fuel every stop. Some teams do every other. Some people double fuel. I mean, that's all the stuff I have to think about when I'm in the pit lane, and I have to relay that back to Andy, especially if the event isn't being streamed. Of course, we have to then tell the spectators or tell people listening on TSL what's going on. And sometimes it's difficult, like at Donington. There were loads of different strategies. I mean, at one point I lost count when all 18 cars came in at once, which does happen. If the safety car comes out of the pit window, everyone pits at the same time. And some teams gain, some teams lose. I think the worst one we had was at Alton Park when we had 26 cars come in at once. And for my own safety, I go over to the pit wall because you don't.
At Alton Park as well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. We've had that.
If there's a safety car when the pit window opens,
I run and hide.
It's carnage. It's brilliant.
It is. I think one team, Apollo, when Zoe Burke was driving, I think the way she parked the car, she angled it at a 45-degree angle, but coming out, they gained something like 8 places in the pit stop alone because they weren't blocked in. I mean, as Fab will tell you, you can be double, triple parked, can't you? And just be completely wedged in. So, yeah, it can be busy in there.
I can imagine. I mean, God. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, that's quite a unique way of doing things with the pit stop regulations there. But is that sort of the organisers' way of mixing it up a bit? So you really have to really go into the strategies.
I think the main theory with the pit stop windows, the way they are, is because you have some teams that are 2 drivers and some teams that are 3 drivers in the UK. If you go to Spa, there's more drivers than that, but they've set it up in a way that you're not penalised if you have 3, because then you can spread the budgets for obvious reasons. So with the pit stop window structured like that, it means that everyone, in a normal 4-hour race, if you've got 3 drivers, everyone gets a couple of stints to start with. Secondly, there's no favouritism through having 2 instead of 3 drivers, so it doesn't penalise the guys that are spending less money to do the same job, which I think is
that's a good idea.
Really good way.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. We've fallen
nice
foul
thing
of that
with as well is with the pit stops is so often you get a championship that will throw in the occasional endurance race. Because they're basically a bit worried about chaos in the pit lane, they'll give you a stand still for 2 minutes or whatever, which is pretty tedious, I think, when you're trying to race a car. And Funcup's the unusual one in that we just go as fast as we can. And doing a fast pit stop has become an art form in Funcup. So Jamie's quite right. You'll do a 9-second pit stops. If you lose 2 seconds in a pit stop, how many laps have you got to go a 10th quicker than everybody else to build that back up again? Like the pit stop becomes such an entertaining thing, and then the spectators, they congregate in the pit lane and they watch it and watch all the mayhem going on, and it really adds to the sport, I think.
Yeah, I think the fastest we've seen in the pit stop, so we call it a dry stop, which is no fuel. I think one team, I think they've only done it once, but they did a sub 8-second pit stop.
Wow.
And that's driver out and driver in.
Yeah, because the cars are central seated, there's no rule on which side of the car you get out of. So some people choose to get in and out on the same side. Some people will be like, right, I'll get in on the left, you get out on the right. I think, boys, you both of you do that, don't you? So you're not tripping over each other. In Matt's case, he basically gets thrown out of the car. So I don't think his feet gets touches the ground before he gets to the garage.
I get thrown straight into the garage. Get out.
Yeah, we've tried both. We used to go in and out the same door, but then we found actually you lose a bit of time. You need one driver getting in whilst the other one's getting out. To there's probably half a second there in crossing drivers over. So we now do it 1 in, 1 out.
I did get sent some media for the fun. I don't think there's a picture that sort of illustrates that more than that. I mean, I think it does look like the UVO car is going to go in and mow everyone down just by that still shot.
That's quite normal.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Action shot.
That is quite the action shot, but it does sort of show the curves of these cars as well. There's some wonderful pictures that have been sent through to us. And the other thing I like about the championship as well, the liveries.
Yeah, I've always thought that. The cars look awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, so obviously the series first started abroad in Europe in '97. Was it 2002? It sort of started here.
Yeah, so it came to the UK in 2002 as a series. I think it was called back then the Uniroll Team Challenge, and then in
just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, and then in 2012 it became a championship. So it ran as a series for about 10 years. And then it became a championship, and we've sort of run with the BRSCC since then because they're a great club. Obviously, credit to Stuart Finley for the fantastic photos. I mean, he's been our photographer for the last couple of years. He's brilliant. He captures everything. As well, he's much better than my photos. Yeah, so it's been running for sort of 10 years as a championship. We've done, as Fab will say, we've done 4-hour races, 6-hour races. We did an 8-hour Anglesey. We do, 2 3-hour races, 1 day, 1 night race. So yeah, we literally cater for everything. And I might as well mention it now. We've got an incentive at the moment. So any driver, so for example, the three of you, because I understand you've never driven Funcup cars. No. If you enter, it doesn't matter what you've done before, providing you've never raced a Funcup car in the UK or Europe, and you win your first race, there is a £10,000 prize. So you get 10 grand for winning, you get 3 for second and 1 for third. It's never been done. I mean, we've had the likes of Anthony Reid come in, we've had Tom Ingram do it, Jade Edwards has done a race. Johnny Molan was with us at Donington, and they've all gone, Jesus, this is hard, because like you say, you sort of look at the silhouette of the car and you think, oh no, these are going to be really easy to drive. But as the boys will tell you, as you're barreling into Redgate 4 abreast with 10 minutes to go in a 4-hour race, it's it's winner takes all. So yes, we have that incentive at the minute. So if anyone's listening or watching and wants to have a go, then give Paul or Liz a ring at the office, and because we've got, I think there's about half a dozen hire cars, Fab, isn't there? That's at their disposal. I know they're all booked for Alton Park, but obviously for next year, if anyone wants to come and do it, we even have a GT radial car which has celebrity guests come in. We've had John McGuinness come in. We had an all ladies team at Snetterton, and they were inside the top 10. So yeah, what's
probably worth noting for people that don't, haven't been around Funcup and haven't seen it. Like most club racing, I think people typically own their own cars. And you can absolutely do that in Funcup. There's no reason why you can't do that at all. And plenty of people that own their own cars win. In fact, this year's championship's going to somebody that owns their own car. But also the guys who run the championship have a proper big fleet of rental cars, and that's what I do, and we've won races doing that. So there's no, because the cars are so even, there's no penalty. So if you want to dip in it and do a round, just go rent a car for the weekend, enjoy yourself, give it back to them at the end, and forget about it. Go back to your day job, Or equally, if you want to have a proper car, you can do that, and there's really no penalty either way, I don't think.
That's good.
Absolutely.
So it's a good incentive for people that are looking, probably similar to yourself, Matt. Like when people are looking to dabble in a bit of racing and see what works for them. If you've got cars available, like say rental cars, you haven't got to worry about the huge outlay of buying a car and then realizing actually it's not for me. So that's cool. I like that. That's a good idea.
Now you're saying it makes it sound a bit mad, actually, that we'd never even been on a track day or anything, and we bought the car.
I do like the sound of your boss. That's the kind of decision making I'd make. You'd be like, let's maybe think about getting a go-kart to, I bought a race car.
He's all right. Hi, Vlad.
I mean, at Donington, we had a good sort of half a dozen of the Mazda guys who were racing there. As soon as they heard about this incentive, I understand at least a couple of them have already inquired about it, because it's like, oh, okay, we'll give it a go. Especially now we're being live streamed more. It's putting us on the map. I mean, I think last year we had people watching from South Africa, Brazil, South America, the rest of South America. Or the United States, everyone's thinking, well, what are these? These look fun, and it's put us on the map, and every race this year has been good. There hasn't been one that's like, that was boring, but no, every race has been really good, and as Fab has said, I mean, to see new teams coming through and getting quicker and quicker. I mean, Vlad and Matt, in the 18 months they've been doing it, they've made so much progress. I mean, they're battling for podiums. If I went out there and I'd get eaten alive.
It's so cool when you watch. I mean, like Matt and Vlad have been the archetypal, triers and getting stuck in. They've just stuck at it and worked at it and worked at it and worked at it. And I imagine if you'd have said to Matt 2 years ago, you're going to be fighting for podiums in a couple of years' time, he'd have laughed. But he has, because the long distance races give you that opportunity, and the people that you're racing with around you and the data sharing and stuff like that, it just gives you that opportunity. And even outside of the race car, you can go Funcup sim racing and stuff like that, and all of that, you can chip away at it. And when you get to the point like Matt's getting to now, where you're really competitive in a Funcup car, you can be then competitive in any car, really. I mean, crikey, we got Funcup drivers that are leading the field in British GT Cup, Brit Car, all of them. If you can go out and do well in Funcup, then really you're capable of doing well in any motor racing championship, I think, because it is that competitive. Because
I suppose it's that key, and it's quite. Obviously, I love my Aussie V8s and stuff like that, but the thing they say about the Europeans, it's this formula of underpowered race cars with mechanical grip that you have to tune. And I suppose, so with these cars, do they take a lot to set up? Is there much difference because I know all the parts are and they come from JPR, so obviously any part you need for the car comes directly from them. So there's no parts differentiation. So is it all in the setup as well, or is it purely?
Yeah, so we've basically got struts all round. So there's not that much in geometry. We got toe settings, we got camber settings, we got rake, and we got wing angle. So there is a bit of setting up around it. What I personally find is we've got a kind of nice setup in a car. We don't deviate it from that a lot. We just get it and drive it. As long as the wheels are pointing roughly in the right direction, you can have a pretty good go at it. If they're sensitive to anything, maybe they're sensitive to camber, and then that's bit condition dependent. So if it's wet, you want to peel a little bit out. If it's dry, you want to peel a bit more in. But really, the cars are quite evenly matched, which makes it good. And it's all about driving them. And what I think you learn in that underpowered situation is just not making mistakes. Because if you're doing a 40-minute stint, if you drop a couple of tenths every single lap, over the course of the stint, you've lost 10 seconds. And in 10 seconds is a world in a Funcup race. You're not going to gain that back. So I think that's what it teaches you, is to just not make mistakes. And that you can carry through to every single bit of motorsport. And if you get in a GT car and you don't get any slides on and you're hitting every apex, you're going to be mega.
Yeah, like I say, we touched on it earlier, didn't we? The joys of these one make series, isn't it? If the cars are all the same, we learn. I say we, me and Stef. Right? To be fair, I say we, Rob as well, and the 2CVs and things like that. But we learned our racecraft in the Ford KAs. They were all very much the same car. And being underpowered and small like that, you learn your racecraft. You learn to carry your corner speed and things like that. It's a must. It's a must really for all races. I think it should be a must. Any kind of one make series should be done.
One of the cool things that's really helped us get up to speed, and thank you for the kind words, Fab and Jamie. But one of the things that's really helped us get up to speed quick is if we've learned, because it is a 4-hour race. If you're early on into the race and you've got someone much faster behind you, well, there's not that much point in defending them because you're going to lose time. You're going to lose seconds over your stint. So if you let them go in front of you, and if you can hang on to them and be in their slipstream, then a faster driver is going to tow you around, and you're basically getting a whole 40-minute stint of driver coaching at the same time. So, that's one of the things we've enjoyed.
That is a really sensible mindset to have. A lot of people that go racing go, I've got to race, I've got to be the fastest, defend everyone. But like you say, that's maturity in racing there. Just say,
just clearly he's to use that.
The guy behind is clearly faster than me. Let them by, hook onto them, and then just let them go around.
Yeah, what we've learned now is you attack everyone and ignore the mirrors.
Full send.
We had Mike Simpson, the head of Janetta Motorsport at Alton Park with us, and Friday he came up to me. I mean, we go back a long way, and he was like, "Jay, why are they all overtaking me?" And I said, "Well, they're quite niche, these cars. You've got to get used to it." Next day, on the race day, he sets the fastest lap.
He was good. Mike was very good. I was really impressed with him.
Yeah, the quote was the field was stunning. I don't know if it was to look at or whether it was the quality.
Probably both.
Yeah, I mean, and like this year we've had novices fueled up racing. So Paul, Wendy, other Paul and Jamie. Get well soon, Wendy, because I know she's not very well at the moment. So get well soon. You know, they've come in from sort of enduro bike racing. I know Wendy did a little bit of car racing, but again, they came in at Silverstone from scratch, and now they're battling for third overall in the Masters class, which again we have this Masters class, so for any team that has a driver over the age of 55, so doesn't matter how old you are, you'll be in fighting for overalls or Masters podium, so there's always prizes out there. But yeah, I mean, we get novices that come in that just say, we love it. I mean, we had Freddie Hunt last year and he said it was the best racing he's ever done.
Nice.
Yeah, and what a charming bloke he is as well. Very nice to chat to. Chris Bridle actually says as well, he still remembers his first season car racing ever was Funcup, lined up on the grid in my rookie year with Stuart Hall, Anthony Reid and Marcus Clutton.
And Fab.
I mean, it says a lot. I mean, it'll probably obviously appeal to yourself, Matt, but when the drummer from Travis signs up to race in the series as well, pretty good going.
Exactly. And JK from Jamiroquai as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
No way.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I can imagine what the tunes were like in those garages. There is one glaring thing about these cars.
Oh, sorry, that was another draw to the Funcup that when we were looking into it, we saw that there was an Iron Maiden car. That was another draw.
Yes, I've seen that.
I like that. Now, I don't know about you guys, okay, but growing up watching motorsport, there was one thing I absolutely loved, and in particular, it was whenever you watched an onboard, and it's that sequential shift. Don't care what power the engine is, any race car is cool when you go bang, 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 and then push bang, bang, bang. So how good is it? Because I suppose with the sequential boxes, so they're all albeit they're sequential, they're all standardized ratios, aren't they? So there's no differentiation there. But how, obviously, the sort of, I mean, Nick and Stef and myself have raced low power with a H box, and I suppose you can screw up your momentum there as well. But does the sequential box make it a lot easier to go up and down through the power, so you can concentrate on your braking, on your steering, and everything like that, or is there still a bit of an art to it?
Personally, I grew up with classic cars, so I naturally heel and toe and blend gear shifts and stuff like that. So, and the sequentials on the Funcup cars are actually quite crude, so it's quite a violent change. And I often find it a bit difficult because you've almost got to. You could quite easily lock a wheel on a down change, and because there's basically the throttle just does that when you change down. So you can't really blend it. It probably means that there's less errors, but you've actually got to adapt your driving style to fit in with that style of gearbox. So there's pros and there's cons, and you can have a stick shift without the throttle blipper, or you can have a paddle shift with the blipper, and there's pros and cons with each. But it's not as cut and dry as you might think. It's not as cut and dry as you might think, and there is a bit of a technique you need to learn to get the most out of it.
For someone coming into motorsport, only holding a driving license for about 3 months before being on track, the paddle shift was essential because that's what I was used to on the Sims. In one of my driving lessons, actually, I was high beaming people and squirting the so that was essential.
It's not working.
But our first test day was at Donington, actually, and like you say, how it can be quite violent with the downshift. That was one of the things that massively turned us onto it at first, because it's so noisy and so physical. It's brilliant doing that. But there is an art form to it for sure.
You definitely can't beat a sequential shift. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to, I say, race. It was test a car with a sequential once. It was a Ginetta G40, but even before I got into race cars and stuff like that, I'd always go to the auto sports show, and the first place I'd go to is like the Quafe stand, and I'd just be there like king, 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 clink, 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 clink. It's just as a fan of racing, it's a must. It is a must.
Yeah, I mean,
just the way it's got a compressor and it does the kicker, the way it goes. Man, it's brilliant.
I mean, the majority of the cars now are running paddle. I think there's one car that's still running a stick shift, but yeah, the majority now, Fab, they're running on paddles now, aren't they? So, but yeah, I mean, I've got all this to come when I drive later on. I mean, I drove a Clear Cup car back in 2012 at Donington with the sequential box, and it was really weird, like coordinating your arm and your leg, especially on the downshift, and it was so odd not using a clutch going up. And when I jumped straight into my road car, pull away, it was like I was like, oh yeah, I need to use the clutch. And yeah. But, no, sorry.
So later on in the year, Jamie, tell us about this test. Is this because you guys have got one round to go, haven't you? You got the Alton Park 4-hour race. So is this to do with that, Jamie? Are you entering? Is there a
no?
Come on.
No. No. So basically, I've always wanted to drive one for like the last 10 years, and amazingly, I've never even sat in one. So when I mentioned it to Paul Rose, who runs the championship, I said to him, you know, I've never sat in one because I'm a little bit wider. The seats on the majority of them are narrow, and I wouldn't be able to fit in it. And he was like, right, we need to address this immediately. So I was like, okay. And he said, we'll do a day at Alton. I think at the time it was either Alton or Donington at the end of the year, and you can have a go in the twin seater, and then maybe go out on your own or stay with the twin seater, whichever I feel more comfortable with. It transpires now it's going to be Alton Park in, I believe, sometime in November. So it's going to be wet. Yeah, I begged and pleaded for Donington because I've been around Donington loads of times, obviously the Clio and in the Mini. So, but yeah, so I've got to probably have a sit in one at the championship round just to make sure I can sit in it. Because I don't want to travel all that way and then can't fit in it. So, new job has a gym. So as soon as I get my passes and everything to go in there, I'll be getting in there and shifting some timber.
Oh, fabulous! So what does so obviously you've got the test lined up. So if everything goes well, would you be tempted to arrive and drive for a round? Come on,
yes.
Come on, Jamie. The smart says
I don't know really. I don't know how I'm going to be able. I don't know how I would do the both. Because apparently I'm irreplaceable. So
have a day off.
You got the radio. I said to you before, Jamie. Live stream it from the in-car. It would be perfect.
God, that would I'd resign live on air.
Well, it would be a bit awkward. I can imagine it would be a bit awkward holding the microphone, holding the wheel, and then occasionally you'd have to try and work out, or if you could take the microphone to the sequential shifter, and just every time you pull back, you can speak, and then put it back.
I always remember back in 2000 when the Clio Cup relaunched, and they wired up Colin Stankham at Thruxton.
Yeah.
With the commentary, and they threw to him in the middle of him barrel rolling at the complex, and he went, "Sorry, chaps, I'm a bit busy," and all you could hear was like, bang, 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 bang.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I can vaguely remember seeing that clip on YouTube. I'll tell you what, that's a name for the archives. Colin Stankham, bloody hell. To be fair, I saw him at Donington Park earlier this year, and he's got his Tatiel clipboard, still in his Tatiel shorts and polo shirt with the pink writing on it. And he's like, bloody hell, he's still going.
He's running caterers, I think, now, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so. He used to run anything.
Everything and anything.
So what does the rest of 2020 hold for you guys? So obviously, Fabio, you're going into the final round. What's sort of the expectation for you? Just going straight for that win and end it on a high?
Yeah, that's always what you try and do when you go motor racing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whether we get anywhere is another thing. It'd be lovely to win the last race. And Alton is so cool in a Funcup car. We quite often do 2 Alton Parks in a year with Funcup. It's like the local track, so everyone knows Alton inside out and backwards, which just makes the lap times between cars super tight and makes the racing really good. And I think it's the best track in the UK, isn't it? So I always look forward to going to Alton Park. And we'll probably get some minging weather that just adds to the fun. Who knows? We didn't win the last one, and that was brilliant. So if it's a good close race, we'll enjoy it, whatever the result.
Matt, what about yourself?
Well, we're currently level pegging on points for 5th place in the championship, which we didn't think in our second season of anything we'd be fighting for. So, and the team that we're up against is PLR, which is Neil Plimmer and Ben Pitch, who are very experienced racers. So that's an awesome challenge for us. So we're really looking forward to it. And also, it's the last race in the season, so the car's going to be stripped. We need some new bodywork put on it because somebody rolled it at Paddock Hill Bend earlier this year. And so we can just leave all the bodywork on the track.
Did you note no reaction from the three of them at all when you said that?
No,
has they all done it as well?
No, I mean a car rolling at Paddock Hill is just grass. Grass is green, the sky is blue. Cars will roll at Paddock Hill
every weekend in Funcup.
Death and taxes.
Tick off some firsts.
Yeah,
and Paddock Hill.
Death, taxes, and people rolling at Paddock Hill.
It will happen. So effectively, what's happened is you've popped your cherry. You've had your first roll at Paddock Hill. It obviously didn't feel good at the time, but it feels good now to share it amongst the world. But
no, it felt really good at the time actually, because as it went, as I went over, as it dug in, it all felt like kind of slow motion, and it was really odd. As it went over, I was like, okay, so this is how this feels. And then as soon as it came back down on the wheels, talking about popping cherry, I had no idea how much the crotch strap was going to hurt. Just the full first.
Yeah, it's not good when that happens.
Yeah, so I really was not. I wasn't expecting it, to be that hard on the acorn.
So you came into the pit lane and you explained to the team what had happened. Something like that.
The worst part is it was the first practice session on the Friday before the race. I had about 10 minutes under my belt, Jamie. Thank you very much. And my teammate Vlad, who, like I said, is also my boss, he hadn't arrived at track yet. And I called him up and had to go, have you left home yet? He's like, why? I was like, oh, don't rush.
No need.
Apparently, when they got the car back, Eddie Farrow, who runs EDF Motorsport, they put it on the flat patch. The Geo was fine. It didn't damage the rear wing. I think the splitter was okay. There's a little bit of a graze on the roof. I mean, considering he went in barreling in there at like 80 miles an hour, it was surprisingly fine.
Yeah,
they're tough little things, these cars.
I ended up with gravel in my mouth somehow, but the car was fine. Actually, I've got a little trophy from there. I'll be back in a sec.
Oh, good. Is this an exclusive?
Yeah.
Is he just going to come back with a little bucket and spade? It's like, this is what I collected. Oh, come on. If you are, for our audio listeners, Matt Dawkins has just left to grab a trophy, and we're wondering what he's going to bring back to us. Actually, place your bets. If you are watching, place your bets. What's he going to bring back?
Well, while he's doing that, I just want to personally give a shout out to all the Orange Army at Donington, because I know they were a bit thin on the ground.
Yes.
At Donington, and so thank you to every member of the Orange family out there that does everything for us. I mean, they look after us. We always make sure we invite them into the awning at the end of the race for a drink. I know sometimes they have to go straight away, but yeah, I'm sure, boys, you'll agree with me. They do a mega job, don't they, the marshals?
Oh,
yeah, we love them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh God,
right.
What's that?
That's a still image of me halfway over, and that is what Martin, one of our lovely mechanics, drew with the duct tape patch that had to go on the roof.
I love it.
The rock and roll over tour of Brands Hatch.
I love
rock and roll over tour. That's brilliant.
I love that, because I guess that that in itself is just part of the camaraderie that happens in these paddocks. It's great to see. Right, now is the time as we head towards 9:30 already, guys. The show's been going fabulously, and again, thank you for joining us. If now is your time to shout about sponsors, people that have helped you get to where you are. So, Jamie, Fabio, Matt, shout out about whoever you want to. Now's your chance.
So I want to personally thank Chris Hartley, because obviously without him, I wouldn't be doing what I've been doing for the last 8 years. And obviously a huge thank you to Paul, Roxy and Liz for putting up with me and all the drivers, for especially this year, because I've had to make them all do their mug shots, which was a thing I decided, an idea I came up this year. And, so if you go on the Funcup family page, there's a class of 22 album which has every single driver that has competed this year on it.
Nice.
And obviously we've got to thank our sponsors, GT Tires, and the BRSCC and everybody that look after us as well. So yeah, and hopefully next year will be even better. And I know we're working on the calendar already, so hopefully we'll be at some exciting venues. And yeah, the last round, not sure if it's being streamed yet. We'll make that announcement in the coming weeks. But yeah, if you can get to Alton Park, I guarantee it will not be a dull race.
Superb. Fabio,
So
the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, obviously my teammate who got me into all this, Farkini Diot. I can say his full name here apparently, and that's all right.
Yeah. After 9:30.
Paul Rose for running the championship. What a brilliant job he does. Scott, Craig, everyone that helps with our team. Captain Yoda, even Ben sometimes. Ben Pitch, Spider Woman.
I'm not going to live that down, am I?
Can we have an identity reveal for Spider Woman?
I doubt it.
Okay, fair enough.
I doubt it.
Matt, the floor is yours.
I have to thank www.vapeclub.co.uk. And obviously Vlad, who owns vapeclub.co.uk, for making this. It's hard to call this a dream because I never even thought it would be possible. So Vlad, I love you. You're a true friend. Thank you very much. And every single driver in the paddock in Funcup and every single team for making us feel so welcome. And the guys that run our car, EDF Motorsport, it feels like a team. We don't just feel like customers. We really want to have good results for you as well as ourselves. And a massive shout out to Craig, DT and Eddie at EDF as well, because every single weekend they give us an amazing car. And unfortunately, no excuses to not win.
Love it. Nowhere to hide.
I love that, guys. Well, thank you very much for coming on to the Club Racing UK podcast tonight. It's the only real job left now. It's over to Stef to give us an update on the Club Racing UK competitions.
Yeah, so the competitions are finished for now. So we had the EBC break package one for the members, and we had the summer raffle. The break package one will be announced shortly. Keep an eye on the socials for when that will happen. The raffle one, I'll be shortly, just to make sure there's no conspiracy theories behind our raffle draw. I'll be shortly, everyone that's purchased a ticket, I'll be sending you the numbers for your ticket. So when we draw it live, I think we're going to draw it on the podcast. Not sure it's going to be the next one or the one after that. But when we draw that live, you'll already know your numbers. So but I'll be emailing you all shortly with all them details on it. So just keep an eye on the socials when we're actually going to announce it. It will be soon. And yeah, cool. Going on from that, tomorrow night, another YouTube video going up from when we headed to Alton Park with Dan Thackeray. So keep an eye on that. 7:30 tomorrow night. Make sure you follow the YouTube channel to keep up to date with all our videos. Going to apologise that I've been a bit slow recently, but we've been pretty busy trying to get a Vectra back together.
We have.
But we will be getting them a bit more frequent soon. So yeah, head over to the channel, make sure you follow it, and enjoy it. I mean, if you want, just go back and then watch more of the same videos that we've already done.
Just get those viewing figures up for us.
Yeah.
Keep watching.
But yeah, that's about it for me, I think, for now.
There we go, guys. Well, that just leaves me at quite a short show tonight, actually. Is there any other business?
It's a good time. That is a good amount. We've got any more comments before we go? Or
I'll be honest, my comment screen is blank. So StreamYard's been right pain in the backside.
We've been a great hit then.
No. As in software, I've got nothing. It's just gone blank. Yeah. There is a matrix. I scrolled down earlier to get the latest, and it just went blank, and I haven't had anything since. So I've pressed something, and Stef's having a look now.
Stuart Ramsey says, if you have a race license, you must have a go on a Funcup.
And Stuart's team Apollo at Donington, 5th overall, and won the Masters class.
Well done.
So they did a great job. So round of applause to Stu, Pete, and John. And we also had team MSBW who were 3rd in Masters in their 3rd ever Funcup race. Nice. They were just outside the top 10. So yeah, as I say, it is completely wide open. Boys, if you get a chance to come and do a vlog about this great championship, you should do. Because it's pretty
all you have to do is you just have to invite us along, and we'll check our diary. Simple.
Yeah, I mean, just have a look at the calendar once it gets released. I think the closest one for us, because obviously we're down in Hampshire, will be Brands, unless we go to Thruxton, but I'm not sure if we will be. We'll be either Brands or Silverstone, I think, the two closest.
Yeah, that works for us. I mean, we can go anywhere really, but on the doorstep's always good.
You can come to Croft.
I'd like to. There's one place I've never been.
To be honest, I had a really good weekend there with my job with the C1 Racing Club. I had a really good weekend there, and I forgot just how pretty that circuit is. It's a lovely track, nice area. Okay, the pits are a bit small, but Croft is a proper old school track. And I tell you this now, all tracks, I mean, all racetracks are pretty things anyway, but particularly all the ones that are quite northern are just stunning. Alton Park, Croft, Anglesey, Cadwell Park, scenic, beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, Croft's an absolute gem of a racetrack. One of the best racetracks around, I think. And who cares what the pit lane's like when you're racing it? It doesn't really matter, does it?
Exactly.
Very true.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We did have a safety car pit stop at Croft when 24 of them all arrived at once. So that was interesting.
It always makes for a good race, though, doesn't it, Jamie? I don't think we've had a bad race at Croft. Doesn't happen.
No, I mean we did a 5 hour in 2020, I think it was, or 2021. When it was like that horrible greasy all day, wasn't it? It was just cold and just rubbish weather. But the racing was brilliant. And if you go on if you go on the Funcup YouTube channel, which is the Funcup, you'll be able to see all the various videos and highlights. And there's some fun videos on there if you scroll back through the archives. We did one called Funcup 1975. There's another one called Rash, which is a spin-off to Rush, which was good fun. Yeah, we do like these little movies at the end of the year. I think Fab's been in a couple of them. I'm not a good enough actor, so I never make the cut, unfortunately. But yeah, no, we do like little fun videos. I think we're doing one this year, but we do things like Bake Off and another shows.
I'm there if cake. I'm 100% there if cake's involved.
Vlad and I have been thinking about making a video about our experience and journey for it called Two Guys Fun Cup.
That's amazing.
Oh my god! And on that note, ladies and gentlemen,
I think that's it.
That is the line on which to end this show, unless Stefan has another point.
It's just Jez is drunk.
Jeremy, get some coffee, mate. Your head's going to be pounding in the morning. But thank you, Jeremy Evans of Marketing Delivery. And that just leaves me to thank once again our wonderful guest, Jamie. We finally got you on the podcast, and that is, of course, Jamie Peters-Ennis, Fabio Randazzio, and Matt Dawkins. Thank you for coming on, guys. Good luck at the finale at Alton. It's been the Club Racing UK podcast in association with Silver Lake Automotive Recycling. Good night. God bless.
Hey, boys.
Night, everyone.
Yeah.